tuned into The Mo Show, where I aspire to inspire your mind, body, and soul. And today, as you can tell from the title, I bought a home a month and a half, almost 2 months ago. And it was like the best decision ever. I am a first time home buyer and I bought my first home at the age of 25. So this video is just telling you guys about some tips and tricks and some advice, some things I did, some things I learned along the way of buying my first home. And then in the next video or future video, I will give you guys sort of a home tour of like how I've decorated my home and kind of what it looks like. So the first thing I would say for a first time home buyer or anyone buying a home, if you didn't know this already, was to start saving your money for a down payment. So people think that buying a home is like super expensive, which up front you pay, I would say, more money than you would just going out and getting an apartment or renting something for the first month. But during the long run of it, it's really an investment. Like buying a home is absolutely an investment, and it's somewhere that you can call your own. You know that exactly where your money's going. When you pay your mortgage every month, that's going to you owning your home as opposed to renting. And not a knock on renting or, staying in an apartment or anything like that. I'm just saying for me, it made more sense that when I was going to find my own place to live, that I wanted to have something that I own that is all mine. So save up for a down payment, because I would say it is kind of a lot of money to me up front. But I saved for a full year before I started looking, or almost a full year before I started looking for homes. So I started in March, where I reached out to my realtor. Yes, best realtor ever, Clarissa Harvey. I reached out to her in March, and she helped me with what I needed to do first. My first steps of what I needed to find a mortgage lender and all those things, which a mortgage lender is very important. We'll get back to that as well. Get your credit score up. Everyone knows that when you're buying a big purchase and they're checking your credit score, your credit is going to go down. So in order to not take a super big hit, make sure you're establishing and building your credit up. Make sure you have good credit. Make sure your credit is above the 7, the realm of like 720, 750, 770, that kind of stuff. Make sure it's good, because when they check your credit, of course your credit is going to go down after that. But the good thing about the way when you're checking for mortgages and mortgage lenders is they give you a grace period. So it's like between 15 and 45 days, where if you are reaching out to multiple mortgage lenders who are all going to pull your credit won't be hit and affected every single time within that period of time. So it's important to, when you start looking for home loan mortgages, to look and reach out to everyone all up front, so that you won't have all these different hits on your credit at the end of the day. In one time period, it'll only be one hit. So that's helpful to know too. I would also say find a knowledgeable realtor. I was blessed and thankful enough that I knew a realtor we went to high school together, and she's done some great work for people that I've known already. So it was easy for me to find that person, and I know she's super knowledgeable about what she does. I can't speak for other realtors, but when I tell you she went to bat for me, like she worked very hard, not only to find me homes, but also to negotiate certain things that I would need in a home and to educate me. I don't know everything in the world, especially being a first-time home buyer. So there were a lot of things that I asked questions about, that I researched about, that I would definitely advise you to do the same as well. So ask questions when you're unsure about something, when you're unsure about a mortgage rate, when you want them to break down every little thing you're paying for. Ask questions. Like, don't feel like you're going to be a bother to someone, because ultimately this is where you're going to live. This is your home and this is your money. Ask the questions that need to be asked, and also do your research. There are some things that there's terminology for homes and different things that you need in a home that you would never even expect as a first-time home buyer. So just kind of look up things. There are different workshops that you can attend, and a lot of realtor groups host those things, throughout the different areas that you live in. I know specifically in mine they do, of like what you can expect as a first-time home buyer, what you need to do to get prepared and get ready to be a first-time home buyer as well. Also, I would say figure out your non-negotiables. When I started out, I knew the price range I wanted to be in, but that was pretty much it. I didn't know like there's a lot of factors. You got location, you have, if you want to get very, very specific, like color of the house, if you want carpet or hardwood floors, figure out the things that in a house you absolutely need or you're not going to buy the house, so that'll narrow down your choices. When you see a house that doesn't have this or that, you don't even have to go look at it and waste your time or the realtor's time, because you know you're not going to buy it unless it has these things. I had 3. I narrowed mine down. I didn't start off with absolute non-negotiables, which is why I think that that's a good thing for every home buyer to do. But I narrowed it down and I ended up with 3 non-negotiables. The first one was location. Location wasn't very important to me. I realized that as I was going through my search, and like I was finding homes and finding them in my price range and things like that, but they weren't where I felt comfortable living. And that is very important to me, to feel comfortable in the area that I live in. So location was one for me. I needed at least 3 bedrooms in my home. I needed a bedroom, a spare or a guest room, and an office for my home. So if it didn't have 3 bedrooms, if it wasn't the location that I wanted, automatically off the list for me. I don't even need to go see them. And then the third thing was that I needed a garage. Like I want to make sure that I can pull my car in and out and have it, locked up at nighttime. So location, a garage, and 3 bedrooms were my top 3 non-negotiables. I didn't need like everything super updated or all new appliances or fully furnished or anything like that, which a lot of homes don't come fully furnished anyway. So if you're a first time home buyer, don't have that fantasy that it's just gonna come all beautiful and all done. No, that's the beauty of you being able to own something. You get to do it your own way. But I didn't, need all these, a bunch of fancy things. I needed those 3 things, and some things you're gonna figure out like, okay, what can I work with? What's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this one. There are certain things, even though I had my 3 non-negotiables, there were certain things about certain houses that I was like, no, I don't love it. And I had to absolutely love my home to get it. It's not just like buying a shirt and you're like, I can make it work. No, this is a very, very big investment. So I would advise anyone buying a home to make sure that you love it, especially if you have the opportunity to take your time and not feel rushed into something, which that was another thing for me. I didn't have to be out of a lease or anything like that. So like a time period. So I had the time to take to actually get what I want, actually look up some things and look around different neighborhoods and see the kind of things that I wanted. So I really appreciate that time. But just to give you guys an idea of what it looked like for me, which I don't think it always looks like this, but I started my home search in about March and I closed on April 30th. And I closed in about 2 weeks. So even middle of April. So I would say a month. It took about a month to start the home loan process, to get everything and all the paperwork and stuff together, and to actually find the home. I maybe saw about 10 or 11 homes, so not that many before I found the one that I wanted. I know a lot of people, and especially in this market, it's a little bit hard and people are having a hard time finding homes, but I was just so blessed and so grateful that God blessed me with the home that I'm happy in, that I really truly enjoy being in. So about a month for the home buying process. It can take lots of months and up to a year and things like that. So I don't want you to think that it's a super easy process, but it did take about a month for me. I would say to stay in budget. You know what you can afford and you know what you can't afford. Don't even go see homes that are not in a budget that you can, afford. If you have a first budget and you're like, oh, I can, expand it a little bit, but don't go anywhere above or beyond your means, because you'll be living above and beyond your means and you'll have to continue paying those things. So make sure you stay in a comfortable budget and ask your realtor not to show you any homes above that budget, so that you won't even be tempted to go look at them and fall in love with the house. So the next thing I would say about that is don't get attached to a home until you are under contract. So under contract means that you put in an offer, the seller has accepted the offer, but it's not like you just, boom, you got the house now. There's paperwork and there's still more verifications and things to figure out, paperwork wise and legally and all that stuff. So it could, and inspections and things like that. So it could end up going back on the market and like you don't get the home. But I would say to not get too invested or attached to the home until it goes under contract and you are starting that process to really get that home, because you just never know, especially in this competitive market right now. It's a seller's market and there's not a lot of inventory, but there's a lot of people trying to buy. So if you go and you like a house and you see a house and you put an offer in, you don't know if you're going to get that offer accepted. Like, I had to wait a weekend to figure out if my offer was going to be accepted, and honestly, I didn't think it would be. I really did not. I did not know that it would be. I was so excited when I got that call that said, your offer was picked above all the other offers. And I'm like so grateful for that as well, because it's like, wow, the process has really started. But I was making myself not fall in love with the home yet, because I knew that there was a possibility that someone else could have gotten the home, then it wasn't me. Another thing that actually helped me get my home was writing a love letter. So sometimes, you can outbid and be the highest bidder, which I knew I wasn't going to do that either. I came in knowing what I was going to spend, and I wasn't going to go a bunch of thousands over just to be the highest bidder, to be sitting in a house that's not worth as much as I bid for just because of supply and demand. So what I did to make myself stand out was make sure I had all my stuff in order, make sure I had a good loan, that a conventional loan that stands out amongst other loans. And I wrote a love letter. So the love letter just kind of expresses to the sellers, hey, I love your home. Thank you for letting me see it. They kind of get a glimpse into your life and a glimpse into you and like why you really want to buy this home. And being a first time home buyer, like I really just tried to get into it and like really let them know that this was a home that I could see myself, starting out in. So my love letter was part of the reason why my offer got accepted for the home. So love letters are good too, to help yourself stand out, especially when you're not willing to bid tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars over the asking price. And I wasn't going to do that. The next thing I would say is find a good mortgage lender. Find someone who is going to be responsible, someone who's going to be receptive, someone who's going to answer your calls when you have a question. So they have to be responsive to what my needs were. That was very important to me, that I could. My lender, she actually told me, she was like, yeah, and just text me. And something that was very helpful that she offered was, if I find a home, just to send her the address of the home, and so she can look up how much the mortgage will be each month based off of the total asking price of the home. So every home I looked at, I sent it to her, and I'm like, okay, how much would the mortgage be? How much would the mortgage be on this one and that one? And that brings me to the point of saying a mortgage is really cheaper than rent. Like, in the long run, like I said, up front, you pay more money up front, but month to month, it's cheaper than renting something, and you know exactly where your money's going. If you have the credit and you have the down payment money and you have a consistent and steady job that you know that you're going to be able to make that monthly mortgage payment, I really, really encourage you to look into the process of buying a home, having something for yourself, for your family or your legacy, that you can pass down to someone else, or you can start making residual income off of if you want to end up renting it or selling it, getting equity in that home. I would highly recommend you making sure you have a good mortgage lender and a good interest rate that's not going to go skyrocket and that's not going to be super, super duper high. Really, so that was kind of all the tips I had about buying a home. My process was, I'm not gonna say it was easy, but it was a faster process than most. Some people usually take about a month to do the closing, but I was very aggressive in my search, and I wanted to make sure that I stood out. So I did all that work up front. If your mortgage lender, sends you an email saying, hey, I need this verification. Hey, I need this document. Hey, I need this bank statement. I was on it quickly getting all this stuff done so that they could get all the paperwork done, so that by the time I'm ready to put an offer in on the house, all that upfront work was already done for me. I just needed to find the house and plug in those numbers, and it was an easier process. Now, as far as inspections, you have to figure out you know, what you're willing to accept and what you're willing to not accept. And that's where my realtor came in. She was just very great in kind of discussing back and forth with the homeowners, like the sellers, of what things that needed to be done before I got here. And she really, really fought hard for me. And that's why I say you need to have a good relationship with your realtor, because they need to know, be knowledgeable about the area that you want to be living in, and also knowledgeable about what you want as a homeowner. Like, don't accept anything less, especially in a process that is so important and so it's expensive as home buying. Like, you can't sell yourself short. You can't undercut anything, because this is your money. You don't want to waste your money. You don't want to let someone tell you how to spend your own money. So get exactly what you want. If I could give you any advice to leave here with today, is get exactly what you want and live in your means and figure out what's non-negotiable and stick to that. If you guys have any more questions about being a first-time home buyer or a home buyer in general, just leave them below, and I will see you guys in my next video.